What's up, guys? It's your girl, Little Miss Neglectful Mother, back at it again, Tokyo 3. I sure hope there aren't any iconic mechas around here. Phew. This was long overdue. I just want to open up by saying thanks to all the recent support. You're all amazing. This video was something I've wanted to make for a long time, and I'm glad it's finally out. It's honestly a nice change of pace to not talk about video games for once. I really gotta do it more. To longtime viewers, some of you will remember that I wanted to talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion for a while, but I never got around to it. This is probably gonna be a massive son of a bitch to tackle, so the less time it takes to get to it, the better. Now, for a bit of context, this was the first anime I ever watched sometime around 2019 or so. It just came out on Netflix at the time. Ugh, I know, right? And I figured, what the hell? And much like a few other people out there, I was bewildered as fuck, especially after watching the end of Evangelion. It wasn't until I looked deeper into the Eva rabbit hole that I started to fall in love with the series, and I've since rewatched the ADV dub, the manga, and the rebuild movies yearly. I own them all physically. I even have the Evangelion Finally vinyl album and a couple of Rays sitting on my shelf. I also have a cute little Eva Unit 1 bag that I take with me wherever I go. This is where the Patreon money goes. No matter how much more anime I watch, the Evangelion series will always be special to me, and I couldn't be happier to finally talk about it here. So, without further ado, here's one of the most iconic and influential mecha anime series of all time, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Evangelion was created by Hideaki Anno. Anno's previous works include stuff like Gunbuster and Nadia Secret of the Blue Water. The latter was made by Studio Gainax, which Anno co-founded, and back in the early 90s, they weren't doing so well. Anno fell into depression following the financial failure of their latest two projects, and he used his depression as the driving force to create Gainax's next project, Neon Genesis Evangelion. And saying it was a success would be underselling it. It was a massive hit in its original broadcast, and now it's one of the most influential works of anime of all time. Without it, there'd be no Gurren Lagann, Serial Experiments Lain, Persona 3, Final Fantasy VII, Nier Automata, Metal Gear Solid 2, and much more. I just want to preface by saying that I haven't gotten to watching other mecha anime yet, so I won't be comparing Eva to its predecessors, even though I know that Eva was supposed to be a sequel to Nadia, so I'll probably have more to say when I watch that, but for now, I just want to talk about it episode by episode and how much I adore its themes and characters and etc. Honestly, this show does seem a little bit disjointed with how I'm dividing these episodes into chapters, but it's widely agreed upon that Evangelion is more than the sum of its parts, and we all keep coming back to it for a reason. Oh, and one last thing, I don't usually do spoiler warnings since I just go fully into spoilers with everything. That's just how I operate. But this show means a lot to me, so I recommend you go watch it before watching this video. Or not, I don't care, I'm not your mom. Anyway, enough rambling, time to watch. We're immediately thrown into a post-apocalyptic world in the distant future. 2015. We're in the barren town of Tokyo 3 during a state of emergency, and we're introduced to our main character, the infamous Shinji Ikari.
It's no use. This is dumb. I shouldn't have come here.
Why are we in a state of emergency, you may ask? Well, who the fuck are you? Now, this thing is an angel. The angels serve as the series' antagonists for the most part, and each of them have such unique and iconic designs, cementing themselves as some of the most recognizable iconography in the series. The third angel, Sachiel, demonstrates its incredible durability and regenerative abilities against the military, who's losing the fight big time. Shinji's about to bite the dust, but he's rescued by the one and only Misato Katsuragi.
Sorry. Get in. Am I real late?
Shinji is a transfer student, and at the start he's been summoned by his father to come work for him. His father, Gendo Ikari, is the commander at a government-funded organization that specializes in neutralizing the angels, NERV. Misato is a captain at NERV, and she was tasked to retrieve Shinji, and she sent this 14-year-old a pinup of herself. Why? I'll never know. The first episode of the show, Angel Attack, does a great job at setting the status quo and introducing us to most of the cast. Shinji's mother died when he was young, and his father abandoned him, making him a very jaded and depressed individual. We also get a taste of Misato's ordeal. She can be a no-nonsense captain when she's on the clock, she's fairly optimistic compared to Shinji, and yet she relates to him regarding his relationship with his father.
Sounds like you don't get along with your dad. You sound just like me.
Speaking of which, Gendo. Gendo is an effective leader, but a piece of shit deadbeat dad. He has his reasons, but for now, all we know is that he treats his own son like dirt.
If you're going to do it now. If not, then leave.
We also meet most of NERV personnel like Gendo's right-hand Fuyutsuki, Misato's old friend Dr. Ritsuko Akagi, and various NERV officers like Shigeru, Hyuga, and Maya. But of course, we can't forget about one of the most important characters in the show, Rei Ayanami. Rei is a child no older than Shinji. Rei is very quiet, keeping to herself 99% of the time. She's very important to the overarching plot, she's shrouded in mystery, and she is by far my favorite character in the show. Before we even meet her on the hospital bed, Shinji sees a Rei apparition in the streets before she vanishes without a trace, foreshadowing how important Rei is. She's also just adorable, and I see myself in her quite a bit. But hang on, why does NERV need these teenagers in the first place?
Oh, it's a face! A giant robot!
You won't find this in there.
What?
This is man's ultimate fighting machine, the synthetic life form known as Evangelion.
NERV plans on fighting the Angels using giant humanoid robots, the titular Evangelions. Shinji was summoned here to become a pilot for Evangelion Unit 1, which he, understandably, throws a fit over.
How can you do this to me?
I'm just gonna get this out of the way right now, but this series will be a lot shorter if NERV hired a therapist. If Shinji turns this down, he has the option to just leave. No one's forcing him to do this. So this all changes when Rei is rolled in on her hospital bed covered in bandages. If Shinji won't pilot Unit 1, Rei will have to do it. So Shinji reluctantly agrees to pilot the Eva, so they plop him in the entry plug, fill it with LCL, shoot him up to the Angel, and that's it, that's the episode. Episode 2, Unfamiliar Ceilings, starts with everything going wrong, and we don't see how the fight went down until the end. Once the Angel defeats Unit 1, the Eva starts to move on its own, going berserk. It kicks the shit out of the Angel, stabbing it, giving it arthritis until the Angel decides to kill itself. The Evangelion's true nature sticks to the back of Shinji's mind after the mech is unmasked, but as for now, Shinji wakes up in the hospital before we see the real meat and potatoes of this episode. Misato volunteering to be Shinji's guardian.
And don't worry, I'm not gonna be making any passes at him. Some people don't have any sense of humor.
Misato decides to throw a little welcoming party, going out to buy snacks before making it to her apartment, and this is why I personally consider this episode to be the "damn bitch, you live like this" episode. Anyway, time for dinner! Misato's got it all! Instant ramen, getting drunk, fan service, getting your balls out in front of a penguin. Well, let's leave Shinji to suffer for a bit and take a breather, because now's a better time than ever to talk about this show's presentation. This show's aesthetic is amazing. I normally tend to gravitate towards 90s anime over more recent stuff, and that's mostly because of the vibes. The charming painted backgrounds, the crispy clean cell animation, it's all top notch. This show didn't have the best production, so it's honestly cool how it looks as good as it does. As a sort of cost-cutting technique, some shots are still poses, often obscured by shadows while characters are talking, but it adds to the show's overall themes and identity. This is a clear example of limitation birthing creativity, but I do need to bring up the elephant in the room, that being the inconsistent character designs. Like I said, this show had a troubled production, so episodes were outsourced to other studios to do the animation. Sometimes Shinji will look like this, but other times he'll look like this. I'm aware this is a common thing during this era, and it does slowly go away with each passing episode, but I still felt like it was worth pointing out. On an unrelated note, it's a shame I can't show off the music in this show. Evangelion has my favorite music out of any anime series, period. I personally consider Shiro Sagisu to be anime John Williams. The music in this show is just so cinematic and iconic. There's so many recognizable songs here. A Cruel Angel's Thesis, Fly Me to the Moon, A Step Forward into Terror, Borderline Case, Ray 1, 2, and 3, A Moment When Tension Breaks, A Crystalline Night Sky. Believe me, I could go on. But I'm not that mad about it since fan-made covers are fair game and this show being so popular means there's a ton to choose from. And one last thing before moving on, the voices. As you've already heard, I'm using the ADV dub for this video, the first dub for NGE, bringing a wide American audience to this anime through Adult Swim. I get that it's not perfect, there's some mistranslations and minor issues that sort of detract from the experience, but in my opinion they don't extend beyond minor issues. This dub is my preferred way to watch Evangelion. Honestly, I only resort to watching subbed if the dub is outright bad or doesn't exist. The cast is just so perfect for these characters, I can't really imagine anyone else voicing them, maybe besides the Japanese voices, but that's besides the point. Spike Spencer as Shinji, Tiffany Grant as Asuka, Amanda Wynn Lee as Rei, and Allison Keith as Masato are all perfect. They do sound pretty awkward towards the beginning, but you can hear them grow into their roles and embody the characters perfectly as time goes on. And if you're wondering, yes, I think the Netflix dub is dog shit. I just think that dub has less personality and energy overall compared to the original. It feels a lot more generic.
If we fall into the ocean, we're done for.
Then we won't do that.
Won't we have problems if we fall in the ocean?
We'll just avoid falling.
No hate to the Netflix VAs, but the ADV cast just gave them more character. Plus, it removed all the iterations of Fly Me to the Moon as the credits songs, which is also a terrible choice. I hope no one gets on my ass for this. But hey, can we at least agree that this is a better way to watch Ava than the censored Cartoon Network version? Tokyo 3 as a city is designed to be a fortress, protecting civilians from impending angel attacks. The buildings detract into the ground when an angel shows up, and some of them act as loot boxes so the Evangelions can restock on rifle ammunition or just hide behind them for cover. Nerve HQ is a pyramid base located inside the Geofront, a massive underground dome underneath the city that was created by unknown means. If an angel were to make it inside Nerve HQ, they would be closer than ever to achieve their goal. See, 15 years ago, the angels caused the second impact, a catastrophic event that resulted in half of the Earth's population perishing. Nerve tried to cover it up under the premise that a meteorite caused it, but Nerve's goal is to prevent a possible third impact by any means necessary. Episode 3, The Silent Phone, starts with Shinji inside a training simulator where he's taught how to use the rifle and he learns of the Evangelion's 5-minute time limit once the charging cable is severed. This thing has a dogshit battery life. Thankfully, Shinji is exceptionally skilled at being an Ava pilot, synchronizing with it immediately in the first episode. But as we can see, Shinji is still very unhappy. See, these first 6 episodes serve as the first major story arc where Shinji is thrown into this world and he learns how to get closer to people. It's pretty straightforward compared to, you know, what follows. And it's a very charming era for this series. Shinji fears forming connections, which Ritsuka refers to as the hedgehog's dilemma, a perfect analogy for the show's themes. Because hedgehogs need to cuddle for warmth, but they risk hurting each other due to their spines. Shinji wants any sort of attention, any affection or praise, but he doesn't want to get hurt again like with his father. And even if he chose to not run away for a noble, selfless reason, he's immediately punished for it once he goes to school. These two goobers are Toji Suzuhara and Kensuke Ida, Shinji's soon-to-be friends. It obviously doesn't start that way since Shinji unintentionally put Toji's sister in the hospital during that first battle. After the beating, a new angel attacks, so Nerve dispatches Shinji. Kensuke, the living embodiment of the nerd emoji, begs Toji to help him sneak out of the bunker to witness the battle in person, which throws a monkey wrench into Nerve's operation. With Unit 1 running out of power and Shinji's peers forced within the entry plug, Masato orders a tactical retreat, but Shinji refuses, and Toji realizes that being an Ava pilot isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Episode 4, Rain After Running Away, is pretty much everything it says on the can. Shinji runs away. The entire episode is him walking through the streets, staring into the foggy horizon, looking dead inside at a theater before noticing a couple making out, and overall just wallowing in his loneliness, drowning out the noise of the world with his cassette player. I quite like this episode. It's probably my favorite one out of these first 6. There's no action, no goofy drunken dinner party. It slows down and focuses on Shinji, which is very nice to see. While this is happening, Misato and the others are worried sick about him, and Shinji eventually bumps into Kensuke in the woods, and the two of them relate once Kensuke mentions he has no mother.
You really shouldn't, you know. Your mother would probably be worried.
Huh? Oh, don't worry about my mother. I don't have one of those.
Oh.
I'm no different from you.
Toji even lets Shinji sock him in the face, making the two even. Overall, Shinji works his way out of his rut, and he's ready to return home.
I'm home.
Welcome home.
By this point, Shinji's starting to feel more at home in Tokyo 3, growing closer to his allies, and it only goes further in these next 2 episodes where we finally get to see more of Rei Ayanami, the best character in the history of anime. This creature brings me immense joy. Rei's mostly been in the background so far, but episode 5, Rei Beyond the Heart, starts building intrigue around her character. Once Nerve is salvaging angel parts for research, Shinji notices Gendo burnt his hands. A month before Shinji's arrival, Nerve held an activation test for Unit 0, which didn't go well at all. Unit 0 went berserk and the crew forced the entry plug to eject, so Gendo bolted his way to the activation chamber to save Rei, burning his hands in the process. This kind of selfless act leaves Shinji in disbelief, since Gendo would never do that to his own son.
He opened the superheated hatch with his bare hands. Bullshit.
Shinji also notices Rei and Gendo smiling at each other, making him a little jealous. Gendo clearly cares for this girl, but as to why, we'll see. Anyway, Misato's cooking again, baby! Allison Keith's drunken Misato voice is so fucking cute.
What's the matter? You're staring at Rei's picture, aren't you?
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, yes you are, Shinji.
Risco takes this opportunity to give Shinji his and Rei's new ID cards, which means now we're going to Rei's place. Forget Misato. This is the damn bitch you live like this episode. Nothing stands out here except for the bloody bandages, medication, and Gendo's old glasses that were cracked during the activation test. So when Shinji puts them on, I always forget about this scene when I show this anime to new people, and it fucks me up every time. This is the worst possible first impression you could ever give. Masterful Gambit, Mr. Ikari.
Ikari, an unidentified object is rapidly approaching Nerve Central. It may be the 5th angel.
So here we are at the 5th angel, Ramiel. You know, some delusional Ava fans will argue over which 14-year-old is the hottest, and more sensible ones have their adult woman fetish. But real ones know that Ramiel is where it's at. Okay, Shinji, it's time to die. Episode 6, Showdown in Tokyo 3, is the finale to the first arc in the story. After a tactical retreat, Misato comes up with a plan to defeat the 5th angel, Operation Yashima. Using all the electricity in Japan, Nerve would use a giant rifle to hopefully penetrate Ramiel's outer shell. After peaceful negotiations with the Japanese government, Operation Yashima has begun. When Shinji wakes up in the infirmary, Rei briefs him on the whole thing, and soon after we learn that Rei seems to put very little value in her own life.
You won't die.
Oh?
I'll be protecting you.
In episode 5, Risco told us Rei has no past records or any origin as far as we're aware. Piloting the Ava is all she has. So once the battle begins and Rei seems to sacrifice herself, Shinji defeats Ramiel and saves Rei just like his father. Shinji managed to get Rei to come out of her shell a little bit, and she can't help but smile. With the first chapter of this story concluded, we saw Shinji feel more accustomed with his new life, and we learned that a little basic kindness goes a long way. Episode 7 fucking sucks. Okay, that's a huge exaggeration, but this episode is just weird. Episode 7, A Man's Work, is not a bad episode. It's just very simple and straightforward. It kind of feels like filler. I feel like placing this before episode 5 would make the story flow a little better, because as it stands, episode 7 is sandwiched between 2 major story arcs, which is odd. Anyway, I'm not gonna spend much time on this. The plot is that Japanese Elon Musk creates a robot to render the Evangelions obsolete. It obviously doesn't work, so Shinji and Masato have to stop it before a nuclear meltdown happens. There's also a cute subplot where Shinji learns to appreciate his guardian more, and that's that. Again, it's very simple. However, something weird about this episode is that they revealed the Jet Alone program was sabotaged by Nerve. This means Nerve sees this goofy-ass robot as a genuine threat to their agenda.
Well, now I know why a woman your age is still single.
Anyway, episode 8, Asuka arrives in Japan. Shinji and the gang go on a trip to this military fleet where we meet a new main character, Asuka Langley Soryu, the Thursday girl. Right off the bat, Asuka's personality is drastically different from the other two pilots. She's bombastic, she's outgoing, mean. Her plug suit and Ava Unit 2 have a striking crimson color scheme. And worst of all, she's European.
Oh, nein.
She does show a little interest in Shinji when she's told his sync rate is staggeringly high, and she does have more to her character, but that'll be shown later. This episode also introduces Ryoji Kaji, Misato's cool ex-boyfriend. He's gonna be working with the folks at Nerve from here on out, much to Misato's dismay.
So, do you have a boyfriend right now?
This next arc of the story still has its moments of introspection and world building, but it's definitely a little more silly than the last arc. The next few episodes basically just have Nerve defeat the Angel of the Week. And honestly, I fucking love it. I know the series is known for how depressing and serious it gets, but at the same time, this series is a massive cultural phenomenon, so there's tons of goofy subsequent material. Tony Takazaki's Evangelion manga, my beloved. If you ask me, humor is just as important to Evangelion as its themes of loneliness and the meaning of life. This episode by itself is full of moments that made me giggle.
You're thinking in Japanese, aren't you? If you must think, do it in German.
Well, I'll try. Strudel, bratwurst.
Never mind.
Anyway, Shinji and Asuka fight the next angel, a fucking fish. Asuka becomes a mainstay, and that's it. The end. Episode 9, Both of You Dance Like You Wanna Win, is probably the best example of the aforementioned sillier tone. In this episode, Shinji and Asuka need to defeat the next angel by becoming synchronized dancers. They fail to defeat the next angel, Asuka moves in, and they're forced to do their daily routine in unison. By the end, they become stronger as a duo and learn to work together.
What are you doing on my unit too?
What are you talking about? You're the one who fell on me!
Sort of. Even if this episode is just the silly dancing episode, they do manage to put in some decent character work. When their training doesn't seem to be working out, Misato finds out Shinji and Rei are more in sync with each other, so Misato considers replacing Asuka. When this happens, she doesn't know what to do with herself. Asuka has a massive superiority complex. She thinks she's better than everyone else, and she can't stand the thought of someone potentially surpassing her at anything, so she toughs it out and goes through with the operation, completely out of pride. There's also an awkward scene where she sleepwalks into Shinji's room and Mr. Ikari in his infinite wisdom tries to kiss her on the lips. This kid is so fucked up.
So fucked up.
Not yet. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I like this episode a lot, and so do you. Don't lie to me. And overall, it's very funny that after one of the best episodes in this chapter, we get the worst episode in the entire series. Like Jet Alone, this episode is watchable, I guess. I mean, as watchable as you can get when Asuka gets in a fat suit. The plot is very simple. Nerve finds an unborn angel within a volcano, so they send Asuka to kill it. That's it. This episode is entirely inconsequential. There's no character development, no world building. If you skip this episode, you don't miss anything. So let's not waste any more time on it.
Hold it right there. I can't let you badmouth an episode starring yours truly and get away with it. Honestly, Lily, what are you, stupid?
Wait, you're real? Episode 11 is cool, even if I don't have a ton to say about it. The power goes out, so once a new angel attacks, Nerve needs to defeat it without the use of electricity. This is the first episode where the three children act as a team, which is nice to see.
We should go to Nerve headquarters ourselves. That's right, but before that, we're going to have to decide which of us will be this group's leader. Naturally, I have the best qualifications. Any objections? Well, let's go. Nerve is over this way.
This is also the episode where Shinji cranks it. We get to see the Nerve personnel's daily commute, and it brings up the possibility that Gendo probably sorta might secretly care for Shinji. Also, remember when I said this show was animated by different studios? This one was animated by Studio Ghibli. It's really obvious with the faces, and I like how much rounder they look in this episode. It's not that surprising that Ghibli did this, since Anno and Miyazaki are friends. That might be a bit of an exaggeration, since Anno is basically Miyazaki's Battle. Except for Battle. Shoutouts to Battle! Episode 12, baby! She said don't make others suffer for your personal hatred.
That's a mouthful.
This is what I'd consider to be the last episode of this filler-y chapter, because now we get a little more lore. This was actually foreshadowed in Magma Diver, but keyword foreshadowed, so again, useless episode. Back in the first episode, Misato mentioned she didn't have the best relationship with her dad, and that's finally paid off here as we're shown Misato's tragic backstory. Much like Gendo, Mr. Katsuragi neglected his child for his work, making Misato resent him. So imagine Misato's shock when her father sacrifices himself to save Misato's life during the second impact. The Katsuragi research group was at ground zero back in 2000, and it changed the trajectory of Misato's life forever. She was scarred both physically and mentally, and her father left her with his cross necklace, which serves as Misato's reminder for why she joined NERV. Revenge. It probably explains why she's so strict when giving orders. Apparently this cross is specifically the Greek variant of the Christian cross, symbolizing perseverance. Misato perseveres and continues to fight angels, her father perseveres when saving his daughter's life, and this cross has a very important role in the end of Evangelion, but we'll get to that later. Misato's vendetta against the angels reaches a new peak when she's been promoted from captain to major, and once the new angel attacks while Gendo and Fuyutsuki are out of town, Major Katsuragi, in her infinite wisdom, decides to send the Eva pilots on a suicide mission.
We'll locate the Evas in an estimated drop zone. Then, while maintaining your AT fields, you'll catch it before it hits the ground. But what if the Evas can't handle the impact? We'll all be blown to the moon.
Misato sends the children to catch a massive angel from space before it hits Tokyo 3 like a meteor, with a 1 in 1,000 chance of success. What follows is probably my second favorite action set piece in the series. The three Evangelions bolt to their target, and everything about this scene comes together to make something truly engaging. The Evas move with such speed and fluidity, sliding across the landscape and breaking the sound barrier. It all culminates in Shinji catching the angel while the girls break through its defenses, and the color work here is fucking phenomenal. The cherry on top is the music, which I can't play, but it fits perfectly with the desperate fool's endeavor driven from Misato's grudge. Afterward, Gendo does something very out of character.
I just read the report. Good work, Shinji.
This small comment from Gendo makes Shinji feel a little validated, so once Misato takes the pilots out to ramen as a treat, Shinji remarks that his goal for piloting the Eva is a little more realized, which very well may be getting recognition from his father. Why does Ghibli food look so good? In episode 13, the children don't matter, so they're kicked out of the episode. The next angel takes the form of a microscopic organism, or nanomachines, hacking into NERV's system to destroy it from the inside. So now NERV personnel must find a way to defeat the angel without the use of Evangelions. This episode also focuses on Ritsuko, who's honestly a pretty cool character. She's kinda underappreciated by the fandom and the show itself. Despite her and Misato being college friends, Ritsuko seems to never talk about herself. That all changes in this episode where she talks about her deceased mother, Naoko Akagi, and the Magi system. The Magi is an AI system that runs not just NERV, but Tokyo 3 as well. It consists of three components: Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. They're based on Naoko's three personality traits: herself as a scientist, as a mother, and as a woman. Once they defeat the angel, Ritsuko remarks that she respected her mother as a scientist, but despised her as a woman. Does everyone in this show have parental issues? Anyway, Ritsuko's personal struggle sort of mirrors Shinji's. Ritsuko hated Naoko as a woman, so she doesn't want to end up becoming like her. It's the same thing with Shinji. His relationship with Gendo is complicated to say the least, but Shinji craves affection and human connection, unlike Gendo, who's the king of antisocial behavior. Shinji and Ritsuko's similarities sorta come into play later, but for now, let's move on to episode 14. And by that I mean skip it entirely. Since we're about halfway done, episode 14 starts off as a semi-clip show of the story so far. The second half is all original, but it's kind of hard to talk about without discussing the next one first, so buckle up. I have a lot to talk about for episode 15, Lies and Silence. Lies and Silence is one of my favorite episodes in the series. This episode showcases the characters' personalities and relationships very well, while also dropping a massive bombshell for what's to come. In this episode, Shinji, Asuka, and Misato each go out to do their own shit. Asuka goes on a date with some random guy. Misato, Ritsuko, and Kaji were invited to a friend's wedding, and Shinji, along with Gendo, visits his mother's grave on the anniversary of her death. With Shinji, his relationship with his father is still pretty complicated. He still resents him for the rejection, but he liked gaining his praise. Their visit to the graveyard actually goes pretty smoothly, and Shinji gets to tell Gendo he was glad they got to meet. We also learn that Yui's body isn't buried under the grave, nor does Gendo keep any pictures of her.
It's like my teacher said, you cast everything away.
Everything is kept in my heart. I'm satisfied with that.
As for Asuka, her date was boring as fuck, so she went home early. After we see Shinji absolutely shredding it on the cello, eventually Asuka gets really bored, so she decides to kiss Shinji on the lips.
Hey, Shinji, you wanna kiss me?
Huh? What?
I think now's a good time to talk about Shinji and Asuka's relationship a little more, because it's honestly pretty nuanced. On the surface, Asuka's kind of just a bully, but in actuality, they kind of have a thing for each other, but also not really. Time to explain. Shinji and Asuka both suffer from abandonment issues. They're both seeking some form of acceptance, but they handle their problems in different ways. Shinji closes himself off, and Asuka lashes out to the world. They can't properly communicate their feelings because they both bring out the worst in each other. No doubt thanks to that awkward scene from episode 9, Shinji knows Asuka's all bark and no bite, but the bark is enough to keep him away. In a better world, these two properly communicate their feelings toward each other, but as it stands, it's pretty toxic. To be honest, I do kind of like these two together, and I do think they could make each other happy if they were a little more mentally healthy. You'd think I want them to be apart, considering I've dealt with my own fair share of toxic relationships in the past. There's some Lily lore for you all, but I don't know. I think sometimes it's better to look inward and fix whatever problems are holding you back from living happily, or in Shinji's words, not running away. Asuka actually demonstrates her feelings towards Shinji in this very episode. Her date was boring and she would have much rather gone out with Kaji. Her kissing Shinji was a desperate move to seek affection. It's also why she suffocates him. She wants him to do something, but he just tanks it. So she tries to hide her loneliness by pretending to be disgusted, and she doubles down when Kaji takes a drunk Misato home, catching a whiff of Misato's lavender perfume.
What's wrong? You look upset.
That's because you kissed me, you jerk!
As for the adults, it's a little more straightforward. They have a fun time at the wedding, they go out for some drinks, they reminisce about their college days, and as previously mentioned, Misato gets very, very drunk.
Drinking till you throw up. How old are you?
Old enough to regret it.
On their way back, Misato starts to have a breakdown, confessing she had to get drunk enough to vent her frustrations to Kaji. Misato admits she left Kaji because he reminded her of her father. She's tried all her life to escape the shadow of her father, to run away from her problems, or convincing herself that focusing on her vendetta against the angels will soothe the pain. She starts bawling her eyes out, comparing her cowardice to Shinji's.
I have no right to be Shinji's guardian.
Enough!
Look at me, afraid to accept a helping hand up from a man except when I'm so falling down drunk that I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm a horrible woman and I'd use you because I'm a coward. I'm pathetic.
And Kaji interrupts with a warm embrace. This is one of my favorite moments in the series. Some people will watch this clip, look you dead in the eye, and tell you this dub is bad. I seriously can't wrap my head around that. But that's not all with this episode. The next day we find ourselves deep underground, the lowest level of Nerve's HQ, Terminal Dogma. Misato, all sobered up, forces Kaji to show her just what he's up to. Kaji is actually a triple agent working with the Japanese government, Nerve, and the mysterious council known as Seele, or Seal, or Zele, I don't know how the fuck you pronounce it. I watched the ADV dub. It's Seilei to me. Kaji is always sticking his nose where it doesn't belong, always with a strong desire to find out the truth. He was actually the one to sabotage Nerve in episode 11, cutting the power off, and it all paid off now that we get to see what skeletons are hiding in Nerve's closet.
Oh my god. Is that an Ava? No, it can't be.
Okay, so I may have left out a few things. This is Lilith, the second angel, a massive white giant crucified within the depths of Nerve. Humanoid parts seem to sprout from her bottom, as well as her corpse bleeding into a sea of LCL, the primordial soup that the Evangelion's entry plugs fill with. Now, we all know Nerve is trying to prevent a possible third impact, but why do the angels always go after them? What exactly is Nerve hiding?
Hey, just what are the angels?
Why are you asking now?
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Angels are messengers from God, right? Why are we fighting angels?
Well, it turns out the answer was Lilith all along, as she's integral to Gendo's and Seilei's secret master plan. Billions of years ago, Adam was created by an ancestral race and sent to Earth to populate it with his offspring, the angels. However, Lilith crash-landed on Earth, resulting in the first impact and the creation of the Earth's moon. The white moon of Adam landed in Antarctica, while the black moon of Lilith crash-landed in Tokyo, eventually forming the Geofront. As you can see, Lilith has a massive spear driven through her body, the Lance of Longinus. It was placed here by Rey at the end of episode 14 with the purpose of immobilizing Lilith until the time comes. It can also break through any AT field and energy field possessed by both angels and Avas. Gendo also requires Adam, the first angel, first appearing as a mere embryo in episode 8. Kaji actually calls Lilith Adam here, and I thought for sure it had to be a mistranslation, but apparently he was just misinformed. 15 years ago, the Katsuragi research team was sent to Antarctica to perform a contact experiment with an immobilized Adam, turning him into a massive giant of light and resulting in the second impact, destroying the white moon and shifting the planet off of its axis, killing half of the population. Now, Nerve created the Evangelions, clones of Adam, to fight the offspring of Adam, the angels. Now, the question is, what does this have to do with anything? What exactly is Gendo's plan, and how does Adam and Lilith fit into all this? It all lies with Gendo's involvement with Seilei, aka the Human Instrumentality Committee. Seilei starts the series in their human forms, but later on they hold their meetings as these massive, faceless monoliths. I like to think this is symbolic of their goal, even their name is a dead giveaway. Seilei is German for soul. The plan is to follow the Dead Sea Scrolls, a prophecy left behind by the ancestral race. The scrolls say to defeat all the angels, and the first half of episode 14 being a clip show is Gendo's report to Seilei. Seilei's ultimate goal is to evolve humanity into its next state of existence, combining everyone into an abstract world where individuality does not exist. Everyone would be one body, one mind, one soul, within a sea of LCL, the primordial soup. Gendo is mostly on board with this plan if it means he gets to see his dead wife once again. The Human Instrumentality Project won't go into motion until all the angels are dead, the Lance of Longinus is in Nerve's possession, and the forbidden union of Adam and Lilith take place once more. In other words, their goal is to intentionally cause and take control of the third impact.
You're right, Kaji. I don't know Nerve. I don't know Nerve at all.
And another thing, now's a better time than ever to discuss the Christian symbolism that's found everywhere in Neon Genesis Evangelion. The angels, the Magi's parts named after the three wise men, the crosses, the Human Instrumentality Project being some sort of rapture to cleanse the earth of the sin of humanity. But the question is there meaning to any of this? No. Not at all. Anno just thought all of this was cool. I honestly think that's pretty funny. I know you can have your own interpretation of the story, but it's funny how some people will try to draw connections to Ava's story and the Bible when in reality Anno just thought it was cool. To be fair, it is. I can't think of another book that has a biomechanical giant stabbing an ancient beast with a knife. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong book. Okay, that was a mouthful. On to episode 16, Splitting of the Breast. Fun fact, even if I'm watching a remastered version of the series, episode 16 looks like shit since the original cut was lost to time. Oh no, I am in immense pain. Please remaster me. This is the turning point of the whole show, where they focus less on mecha action and more on psychological, trippy character studies. So we start with Shinji beating the girls in a sync test, and it starts to get to his head. He becomes a little too confident. So when a new angel attacks, Shinji acts without thinking, going in guns blazing. Turns out the angel's body is merely a facade, and the ominous black shadow on the ground is the real angel, dragging Shinji to hell.
A shadow! What the hell is this? This can't be happening!
Ritsuko devises a plan to salvage Unit 1 at the cost of the pilot's life, which raises some questions for Masato now that her trusted nerve is irreversibly shaken.
It's your responsibility if Shinji's lost, Masato! You seem to have forgotten that! Then why in the hell are you and Commander Ikari so worried about recovering Unit 1? What's so special about it?
Also, it's funny how key art for this franchise will lead you to believe that Asuka and Rei are besties, but in reality, these two can't fucking stand each other.
What? Oh, were my comments about Shinji pissing you off, Wonder Girl?
I wonder, do you only pilot an Eva for the praise of others?
What in the hell are you talking about? I don't need to have anybody's approval but my own.
Cut it out, you two.
Ritsuko proposes that the angel's shadow is a Sea of Dirac, a portal to another dimension. Shinji doesn't see anything but white noise. He's slowly dying of starvation, and the LCL within his entry plug starts to get cloudy, giving off a thick scent of blood. And through all this, Shinji starts to have visions. Visions that tackle his loneliness and constant struggle with his self-worth, questioning if he has the capacity to turn his life around for the better. This is shown through Shinji having a conversation with a younger version of himself on a train. A lot of these trippy psychological scenes show a train in some way, and it's all up to interpretation, but I like to think it represents an absolute escape from everything. A place where Shinji can be alone with his thoughts. A train of thought, if you will. So when he's confronted with his own personal problems by none other than himself, he gets anxious. He just wants to be left alone. As Shinji's life support starts to fail, he suddenly gets a strange, familiar feeling. A feeling of his mother. And then the angel fucking dies. The next 3 episodes are a sort of connected mini arc, and believe me when I say that this is my favorite part of the series, especially episode 19.
I didn't have time to cook last night. I had too much homework.
Oh, you did you? And that's your excuse for me having to go without lunch?
Uh-oh, the newlyweds are fighting.
NERV has been developing a new autopilot system for the Evas in secret, the Dummy Plug system. The Dummy Plug system is designed to trick the Evas into moving by mimicking a pilot's thought patterns. We actually get to see Rei being studied for the dummy system's construction in episode 15. While this is happening in Japan, NERV's branch in America conducts an experiment to install an S2 engine inside Evangelion Unit 4. S2 engines are an organ found within angels, basically acting as an unlimited power supply. If they could somehow implement this inside an Evangelion, it would eliminate the need of an umbilical cable or 5-minute battery life. Unfortunately, the experiment was a failure, and the entire second branch disappeared in another Sea of Dirac, so NERV has no choice but to transfer Eva Unit 3 to Tokyo 3 and await the arrival of the 4th child. The entire episode is spent #vague posting about who it is, but spoilers, it's Toji. This only means good news for Shinji, right? After all, his school friend is gonna be his co-worker. There's no way this could possibly go wrong. Regardless, Shinji's still shaken up by his experience in the Sea of Dirac, so it's hard to tell him anything now. What Shinji needs now is some nice, big, juicy melons. How else were you supposed to interpret that, you pervert? Kashi shows Shinji his garden where he's been growing his own watermelons. There's something inherently heartwarming about a man, a spy, who knows the inner secrets of NERV, aware of the impending danger, going out of his way to cherish life and grow his own food. And for what little time he spends with Shinji, he serves as a pretty good parental figure, letting him know he's a good kid and his kindness isn't a weakness. Kashi is actually one of the healthiest characters in the show. You know, besides Pen Pen. Meanwhile, Toji isn't taking kindly to his new role as a pilot. He feels sorta dissociated and pensive. He looks back on the day he punched Shinji, now that he's found himself in the same fate. Eventually, he reluctantly makes his way to Matsushiro for Unit 3's activation test, with Misato overseeing the procedure. But you gotta remember, Unit 3 was made in America, so therefore it has to be evil. With Unit 3 possessed by the 13th Angel, Bardiel, Nerve wastes no time dispatching the 3 children and reclassifying Unit 3 as their next target. In Misato's absence, Gendo takes command of this operation, so when ejecting the plug fails, he focuses all his efforts on destroying the contaminated mech, at the cost of the 4th child's life. By this point, Shinji is fully aware the pilot has been selected, and he suspects they're trapped within the entry plug.
There's somebody inside it, isn't there? Another kid just like me.
Ava Unit 3 moves in such a creepy way, making quick work of Asuka and Rei, contaminating Unit 0 and contorting its arms and unnaturally extending them to choke Shinji. Shinji once again does nothing, defying his father's orders. He can't bring himself to kill another human being.
Switch all control to the dummy plug system.
But sir, the dummy plug isn't fully operational yet.
It's still better than the current pilot. Do it!
Shinji is forced to watch as his Ava rips Unit 3 to pieces, tearing it limb from limb, crushing the entry plug with its hands. The streets of Matsushiro are stained in the blood of Adam, and Gendo just sits there with a smile on his face. When all is said and done, Shinji doesn't find out who the pilot is until it's too late. Afterward, Toji is written out of the show, but he doesn't die, he just loses a leg. While I'm relieved he's still alive, I do think this scene would have been more impactful if he did die here. This was the original plan, but Evangelion's production company told Anno that killing a 14-year-old was a big no-no. This makes episode 24, and especially the end of Evangelion, all the more jarring, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Anyway, Toji's circumstances are kinda framed like a death, because Shinji absolutely loses his shit. He threatens to blow up Nerve headquarters, Gendo doesn't give a fuck, so they waterboard the fucker.
I've still got a direct control circuit!
While Shinji was placed in the same hospital as Toji, we get another vision of Shinji on the train, alongside Toji. This dream exists both in Toji and Shinji's mind. The best take I could find on this is that this is the culmination of Toji's journey, going from not understanding Shinji at all to sharing the same mindscape as him. But canonically, you could chalk it up to them being Ava pilots and some form of AT field melding is happening, foreshadowing the Human Instrumentality Project. It's also very tragic that this all happens when Toji's relationship with Hikari, the class rep, just started to blossom. She was gonna cook him lunch and everything. Anyway, after Shinji wakes up, he's brought to Gendo's office in handcuffs, and Shinji announces he never wants to pilot an Ava ever again. And just like episode 4, Shinji runs away. His decision to leave is only strengthened once Misato tells him all the children in his class were potential candidates to become Ava pilots, and Nerve is the one selecting them rather than the dummy organization, the Marduk Institute, which I definitely remembered to bring up much earlier. Anyway, another angel attack. This is Zeruel, the 14th angel, and it's by far the most powerful one Nerve has faced thus far. This thing makes Nerve its bitch. It breaks into the Geofront, chops up Unit 2 into pieces, all completely effortless, I might add. It moves at a steady pace, its arms move like paper but hit like iron. Gendo orders Rei to pilot Unit 1, but the Ava refuses. Gendo then inserts the dummy plug into Unit 1, but the Ava refuses. Nothing is going according to plan. And a moment I appreciate is Rei's contribution to the scene. This girl started off as an emotionless loner who followed Gendo's orders no matter what, but once Shinji entered her life, he showed her genuine kindness. In episode 17, he goes out of his way to clean her room, making Shinji the first person Rei has said thank you to. And now, even if Unit 0 isn't ready for combat, Rei attempts to shove an explosive into Zeruel's core, just so Shinji never has to pilot an Ava ever again, which ends up being a useless effort. And in the midst of all this, Kaji talks some sense into our boy.
The only thing I can do is stand here in water. But you have something that you can do, that only you can do. Nobody is forcing you. Think for yourself and make that decision by yourself. Think about what you have to do now. Think about no longer having any regrets.
So Shinji bolts his way into HQ, and he makes it with only seconds to spare. Shinji, you asshole! Zeruel's within fisting range! This is my favorite fight in the whole series. It doesn't even last that long, but it's purely driven by Shinji's raw desire to do the right thing. This kid is absolutely furious. I also want to add that Eva Pilot's nervous systems are synced up with the Evangelions, so when an Eva is damaged, it inflicts pain on the pilot. With that said, Shinji feels the pain of getting his arm fired off with a goddamn laser beam, and he keeps fucking going. But alas, Unit 1 runs out of power, and Zero-L wins. For like 5 seconds.
Must be wrong. How can Shinji's sync ratio with Unit 1 be over 400%?
Once again, Evangelion Unit 1 goes berserk, easily breaking through Zero-L's AT field, but it doesn't stop there. It regenerates its arm using Zero-L's, and now we finally get a full display of the Evangelion's disgusting, monstrous true nature. In a horrifying act of cannibalism, Unit 1 starts to eat Zero-L alive, absorbing the S2 engine. Now the beast that lies in the armor is unrestrained with infinite power.
It's begun at last. Indeed. This is the beginning.
Hey, so remember when we had an episode about Asuka getting in a fat suit? Hey kiddo, do you like seeing sneak peeks, art pulls, getting to see your name at the end screen, or maybe a verbal shout out? Consider supporting me at patreon.com/lilypixels. You can become a patron for $10, $5, or even as little as $1 a month to get these perks. Your support means a lot to me. And don't worry, there will be plenty of fan service. That's not actually true, that's just what Misato says at the end of the episode normally. Anyway, on to the next chapter. This next chapter of the story is where everything kinda starts to fall apart, and I mean that in a good way. With each passing episode, everything takes more of a mental toll on our characters, all in preparation for the end. We only have 7 episodes left, starting with episode 20, Shape of the Heart. To start off, Gendo and Seilei have been working to make sure everything lines up well with the Dead Sea Scrolls, with some minor deviations happening here or there. But Eva Unit 1 going berserk and gaining an S2 engine is a massive difference from Seilei's scenario. This shakes the committee's trust in Gendo, bringing up the idea that he has his own scenario he wants to make happen, and he's playing Seilei like a fiddle.
Are you going to betray us, Hikari?
Now, if you thought Shinji being trapped in the Durak Sea for 16 hours was bad, how about Shinji being trapped within Unit 1 for a whole month? Once Unit 1's S2 engine goes inactive, Nerve restrains it and covers it with band-aids. And I gotta say, as horrifying as the cannibalism scene was, I think this is the scariest look Unit 1 has ever donned. Much like Misato says, it looks like it can snap at any moment. Shinji's body has completely dissolved within the entry plug, becoming one with the LCL that lies within. Nerve staff doesn't really think much of it, and they devise a plan to rematerialize Shinji and get him out of there. I wonder, does this mean a human being fused with an Evangelion before? Nah, probably not. Of course, we have another trippy sequence in Shinji's head, which is starting to become part of Shinji's schedule at this point. So far, we've seen him grapple with his cowardice, self-worth, the way he's perceived by others, all that good stuff. And of course, we've already seen his indecisiveness when it comes to his stance on Gendo or why he pilots the Eva, and that's sort of the theme of this part. Shinji is at odds with himself. We see flashes of his allies and enemies, but he struggles to find a concrete reason why the angels are his enemy. Why does he fight? To gain praise? Not just from his father, but everyone else? Is being an Eva pilot the only reason people like him? We also get this scene where the 3 girls, fully naked, call to him, putting a spotlight on Shinji's adolescent sexual frustration. Asuka, Misato, and Rei ask if he wants to be of one body, mind, and soul with them. Sounds a little familiar. Shinji's perspective on reality may be warped, but one thing's for sure, the idea of a world without suffering is placed into his head. The Human Instrumentality Project doesn't seem so bad anymore, actually. But at the end of the day, when Nerve fails to bring Shinji back, Misato weeps by the empty plug suit. It's ultimately Misato's distant concern that breaks through and brings Shinji back. So then Misato and Kaji fuck.
Hey, you can't dodge my questions by doing that. No, don't put strange things in there.
I feel like I shouldn't be here, man. Kashi gives Misato a pill, a capsule containing the data he's found on Nerve, so she can continue in his stead.
This is for you. The first time in 8 years. And maybe the last as well.
Episodes 21 to 24 are interesting production-wise since we're looking at the director's cuts. The director's cuts, at least as far as I'm aware, are more widely available than the on-air versions, and the differences range from redone animation to adding entirely new scenes that build up to End of Evangelion a little better. It only adds to the experience, so it's widely regarded as the definitive edition, not even just for the extra scenes. This is the point where you can tell Anno and the gang were running out of money. Even if the director's cut was released 2 years after the show stopped airing in Japan, ADV didn't get the rights to dub them in English until the 2000s, despite being able to do the whole series in the 90s. So some actors had to be replaced due to being unavailable. The replacements are fine, but the most noticeable one is Gendo's, going from Tristan McAvery to John Swasey.
The angels appear to be getting more intelligent. There's not much time left.
Yes, that which has never been achieved. The path to becoming one with God. Human instrumentality.
Honestly, I think John Swasey fits Gendo a little more, but I still have a soft spot for McAvery's Gendo. He sounds pretty silly.
Handle the rest of this.
Anyway, next episode's interesting as fuck. The Birth of Nerve, baby! Like the title says, this episode is a prequel focusing on the rise of Nerve after the second impact. In the present, Seilei kidnaps Fuyutsuki, interrogating him about the Unit 1 S2 shebang. Kaji is a suspect for this, so Nerve detains Misato for her involvement with him. Meanwhile, Kaji goes rogue and undertakes his final assignment, finding out the truth between Nerve and Seilei's motivations.
My last assignment. It's red. Just like blood.
Rewinding the clock about a decade and a half, we get to see Fuyutsuki as a college professor meeting Shinji's late mother, Yui Ikari. Fun fact, in the End of Evangelion and the supplementary recap film Death and Rebirth, Yui is voiced by Amanda Wynn Lee in the dub, who's the same voice as Rei. She even looks a little bit like Rei. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, right? Fuyutsuki also meets a young Gendo Ikari, who is honestly ugly as hell. Shinji really lucked out when it came to inheriting his looks, huh? Anyway, Fuyutsuki is appointed as Gendo's advisor after bailing him out of jail after a bar fight, and it's honestly pretty cool to see these two with a radically different dynamic than the one we're used to. Fuyutsuki doesn't really like Gendo at first, and Gendo himself is a little rough around the edges. Really, this episode is jam-packed with everyone's whereabouts before Shinji's arrival. We get to see a traumatized Misato become friends with Ritsuko, the construction of Unit 0 and the Magi system, and we even learn about Seilei's rise to power, controlling the world through the United Nations. Fuyutsuki threatened to go public with this, but he feared Seilei would eliminate him for knowing too much, so he reluctantly joins Gahern, which was later renamed to Nerve.
Fuyutsuki, will you join us in creating a new Genesis for mankind?
New Genesis. Neon Genesis. Evangelion. He said the thing. Another thing this episode sheds some light on is Naoko Akagi, Ritsuko's mom. Earlier I mentioned Ritsuko hated Naoko as a woman, and now we see that's because she's a dirty whore. Naoko always had a thing for Gendo, but once he got married, Naoko lost her chance. This all changed once Yui died, so Naoko is free to take Yui's place. Again, this dude is ugly as hell. I don't see what either of these women saw in him. Deep down, Naoko felt that Gendo could never replace Yui in his heart, and this insecurity of hers gets way out of hand when she meets Rei Ayanami. But not the Rei Ayanami we're familiar with.
She resembles someone. Yui.
Well, cat's out of the bag now. Rei is a clone of Shinji's mom.
It just reminded me of a mom. I bet you'll make a great mother, Rei.
You know, in retrospect, this just makes that scene from episode 5 all the more weirder. I don't know how you can watch this show and be a Rei Shin shipper, but I digress.
Do you want to come with me, then?
No, thanks.
But how will you get home all by yourself?
That's not your business, old hag. But you are an old hag, aren't you?
I'm getting mad. Commander Akari will spank you for this, you
The
little...
commander is the one who calls you that.
He says that old hag is annoying. That old hag is no use.
This makes Naoko fucking lose it. Her worst fears have been realized. Hell, they've been fucking subverted. And what makes it worse is Rei's resemblance to Yui. It's like Yui is still alive, mocking her face to face. Naoko snaps and kills Rei Ayanami the First. And once she realizes the weight of her actions, suffocating a literal child, she starts tumbling down, ending it all. I also want to bring up that Yui's death was labeled a freak accident, but there were rumors floating around that Gendo was the one to kill her, rumors Shinji's been plagued with after his father abandoned him. Shinji isn't really sure if he believes them, but it adds another layer of hatred to Shinji's view on his father.
Damn it! Damn it! God damn it! You hurt Toji and killed my mother!
Back to the present, Kaji frees Fuyutsuki from Seilei. By this point, Seilei already figured out Kaji delivered the Atom sample to Gendo, which was also a massive deviation from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now that his mission is complete, Ryoji Kaji goes out with a bang.
Oh, hi. You're a little late, aren't you?
This sparks a semi-popular mystery in the fandom. Who killed Ryoji Kaji? Some say it was Masato, some say it was Gendo. I mean, Gendo is the one to do it in the manga, but if you ask me, neither of these make any sense. I just think it was some random guy under Seilei's orders. In particular, the idea that Masato did it just doesn't make sense to me. They had the same goal of exposing Nerve's secrets, and despite their relationship being flawed at best, they are still shown to genuinely love each other.
Katsuragi, the truth is with you. Don't hesitate. Move ahead. If I can see you again, I will say the words that I could not say 8 years ago. Bye.
Episode 22, Staying Human. Wait, why does this episode not have the catchy intro? How fucked up is this gonna get? I alluded to it before, but Asuka has a crush on Kaji. The episode opens on a flashback before episode 8, and this shows another side to Asuka. She wants to be seen as an adult. She suffers from abandonment issues, she needs validation, and she wants to be seen as an independent, mature person. So when Kaji rightfully turns down her advances, it hurts her ego.
Asuka, you're still a child. Those things can wait until you've grown up a little.
In the present, Asuka's been in a bit of a funk. She's previously been outperformed by Shinji twice, her sync rate has been dropping to a concerning rate, and thanks to Masato, we know Asuka's been on her period. All this to say that Asuka is getting sick of everything. She feels helpless, not being in control of anything, defied by her superiors, outperformed by her peers, even her body forces her to go through this pain for a completely pointless reason. Even if I can't 100% relate, I get what it means to not be in control of your own body. It's rough out there, girls.
You two were on the phone quite a while.
Well, it was just a routine communication.
I wish I talked to my family.
It's totally overrated, and it's all just for show. She's not my real mother anyway.
Oh wow, a rare moment where they're actually having a normal conversation.
And why in the hell am I telling all of this to you?
Oh. Never mind. Of course, Asuka's struggles come into play during the infamous elevator scene. As previously established, Asuka and Rei can't stand each other. When these two share an elevator ride, they force you to stare at this static shot. There's no music, no audio at all, save from the quiet ambience of the elevator. And we're forced to watch this for about a whole minute.
If you don't open your mind to her, your Ava will not move.
Oh boy, a new angel! Sonic Team, you have some explaining to do. The 15th angel takes the form of a winged creature of light, slowly orbiting the Earth up in space. When Asuka is deployed in Unit 2, the angel demonstrates its unique ability to directly damage the human psyche. Some say Leliel tried to understand the human mind back in episode 16 by possibly communicating with Shinji, but here it's much more intrusive. A divine light shines through the clouds, forcefully entering Asuka's mind, unpacking repressed memories. Memories that define her as a character. Memories that finally explain why she's like this. Years ago, Asuka's mother, Kyoko Zeppelin Soryu, was a Gahern researcher who was involved in a freak accident, removing the maternal component of her soul. Because of this, she was driven insane and had to be institutionalized. Before she died, she completely ignored Asuka, seeing a literal doll as her daughter, and eventually, when Asuka was chosen to become an Eva pilot, she unfortunately witnessed her mother's demise at the end of a rope. Asuka then vowed to live for herself, not needing anyone. She'll become an Eva pilot and show the world she's not a child anymore, but she's lying to herself. Asuka putting her entire self-worth into her role as a pilot is no different than a toddler hugging her toy. She can't pilot the Eva and bring herself to find relief from anyone, not even Shinji, the boy she liked. The boy that she tried to show any form of intimacy. So, is she completely worthless? Does she deserve to live? Asuka's mental state is rapidly declining now that intrusive suicidal thoughts have entered the mix.
Please, Asuka, die with me.
If that's what you want, I'll die with you, Mama. Just please don't stop being my mother.
Mama? Who are you?
Back in reality, Gendo orders Rei to descend to Terminal Dogma for a last-ditch effort, using the Lance of Longinus to pierce the Angel's AT field and eliminate it for good. With the Angel gone, Asuka is in a worse place than ever, and the Lance of Longinus drifts away in the cold emptiness of space. Until the time comes. In the coming episodes, Asuka ditches the others, crashing at Hikari's and playing on her Sega Saturn all day. Maybe that's what Ritsuko meant when she said Hedgehog's Dilemma. Her sync rate with Unit 2 eventually drops to a staggering 0, and the last nail in the coffin for her is when she finds out about Kaji's demise. Side note, I like how Kaji is associated with coffee, contrasting Misato's association with beer. He's seen drinking it here and there. Misato switches to coffee when she takes Kaji's place in the nerve investigation, and when the news is broken to Asuka, a pot of coffee is spilled on the floor. With nothing left, Asuka eventually runs away to an abandoned house, attempting suicide through starvation before being apprehended by Nerve and taken to the hospital, where I'm sure she will get some well-deserved privacy. Anyway, episode 23. I sure hope nothing bad happens to one of my comfort characters. So, yeah. Rei dies in this episode. A new angel attacks, making first level contact with Unit 0. Much like the previous angel, this one enters Rei's mind, bringing her mentality to the forefront. Rei starts off the series as an emotionless clone created in Yui's image, but through Shinji, she was able to feel more emotions other than loneliness. She smiled. She worked up the courage to say thank you.
No, I am me, not you.
I thought it was bad when Shinji was nice, but when an emotionless, wind-up doll like you starts being sympathetic, I'm doomed!
I am not a doll.
When the angel tries to question Rei's proud sense of self, it takes the form of Rei in a pool of LCL, twisting individuality for loneliness. When Unit 1 is brought out of stasis, the angel tries to make contact with Shinji as well, taking the form of what the community dubs Giant Naked Rei, or GNR for short, which Rei questions,
My mind and soul to become one with Hikari.
That line right there, plus the presence of Giant Naked Rei, is a very clear double reference to the end of Evangelion. As a last-ditch effort to defeat the angel and as the ultimate gesture of Rei's affection to Shinji, Rei absorbs the angel within Unit 0's core and detonates it from the inside, bringing the story of Rei Ayanami II to a close. Never mind, she's okay! Woohoo! Nothing bad ever happens in Evangelion. Now, time for a little detour. When Rei makes contact with the angel, she questions,
You, myself, and an Eva?
It turns out the Evangelion units contain a human soul. It's why sometimes they become sentient and go berserk. It's the human soul possessing the empty copy of Adam. Focusing on Unit 0, I believe the human soul that lies within is none other than Rei 1, the Rei that died by the hands of Naoko Akagi. It would definitely explain the activation test going down that way. Rei 1 has reawakened, remembering the pain of suffocating to death before attempting to attack Ritsuko.
Unit 0 wanted to attack me. That's got to be it.
By this point, it's probably obvious as to who's inside Units 1 and 2, but I'ma wait until we talk about the end of Evangelion for that. But, as for Unit 3, I don't know. They never told us. Does Toji have, like, a dead relative they stuffed in it or something? Does it even matter? With Rei 2 being replaced by the third clone unbeknownst to everyone else, Seilei demands Gendo hand her over to the committee, but instead he hands Ritsuko over to them, buying some time and protecting Rei from Seilei for Gendo's own scenario. When Ritsuko finds out she's been used, something inside her snaps. All the shit I said about Ritsuko in episode 13 is finally coming into play, so pull out your notes, class! So Ritsuko and Shinji's similarities is possibly what compels her to summon him to the depths of nerve, along with Misato, who's pretty enthusiastic about installing a forehead window onto Ritsuko.
Doctor?
And here we get to see the place where Rei was born, an exact copy of her room, a sprawling graveyard of Evangelion carcasses, and the dummy system chamber, where we see multitudes of empty vessels, empty bodies of Rei, lacking a soul. Ritsuko starts to break down, all because, like mother like daughter, Ritsuko is a dirty whore! Ritsuko leads an empty life, mostly keeping to herself at work. This really starts to get to her once she's on the phone with her grandmother, where we learn one of her cats died and she hasn't visited her mother's grave in 3 years. She pretty much has nothing, but she was apparently in a relationship with Gendo at one point. Ugly ass! Sorry, I think I'm coming down with something. They kind of just spring this onto us in this episode. I feel like this could have been built up to a little better, but regardless, she hated her mother. She didn't want to stoop down to her level, but in the end, she fell for Gendo. Gendo sold her out, so she retaliates by destroying the vessels of Rei. We only have one last episode before the finales of this show, and by now, all of the traditional angels have been defeated. That's also kind of why Armicell infecting Unit 0 created a towering amalgamation of all the previous ones we've seen. And now, this last one will prove to be the one that does extreme damage to Shinji's mental state. For like the 5th time this week. In episode 24, The Final Messenger, Shinji becomes a faggot. With Shinji feeling closed off to everyone, he starts to feel lonely. Thankfully, we meet a mysterious new replacement pilot for Unit 2, Kaoru Nagisa.
Singing brings joy and revitalization to the human soul. I think that song is the highest achievement of the Lilim culture. Don't you agree, Shinji Ikari?
Kaoru has a total of 13 minutes of screen time. He only shows up in this one episode, but it's enough to leave a lasting impression on not just Shinji, but the narrative itself. Kaoru seems to be a warm, welcoming, philosophical individual, and he's the only person who seems genuinely nice to Shinji. The two of them bond over their love for music. Shinji stays over at Kaoru's. Dude, they're literally sleeping and taking a bath together. They are so obviously gay.
I think I may have been born just to meet you, Shinji Ikari.
Well, not if you're watching the Netflix dub.
I'm saying I love you.
I'm saying I like you.
Kaoru is exactly what Shinji needed. Unconditional love. And previously established, Shinji is a very indecisive kid. He doesn't know what to make of the world around him, as well as himself. All he knows is that Kaoru makes him happy. Damn, Shinji, your boyfriend is so nice. He's like an angel. Alright, he's not allowed to be happy. Got it. Kaoru shares some similarities with Rei. For one, he has no past records at all, and he seems to think him and Rei share some sort of divine purpose as visitors to humanity, or as Kaoru calls us, the Lilin.
How interesting that both of us have ended up in the same form as the Lilim for life on this planet.
Identify yourself.
When Kaoru suspiciously syncs up with an unmodified Unit 2, Misato does some digging and finds out that Kaoru was born on the same day the second impact happened. The contact experiment 15 years ago resulted in the birth of Kaoru, a vessel harboring the soul of Adam. In other words, Kaoru is the final angel. Kaoru turns on Minecraft creative mode and possesses Unit 2, descending down to Terminal Dogma to unite with what Seilei told him to be, Adam. And Shinji is dispatched to eliminate his target, much to his dismay.
You betrayed me! You betrayed the trust I placed in you! You betrayed me just like my father did!
Kaoru's true plan was to fuse with Adam and reclaim the Earth, the rightful place of the angels, from the Lilin, but as soon as Kaoru realizes it's Lilith, he immediately understands the consequences of this. Fusing with Lilith would cause the third impact, ending humanity as we know it. Seilei was merely using Kaoru so Nerve could follow the Dead Sea Scrolls and kill the final angel. And if Kaoru's survival means Shinji's demise, he's perfectly fine with his fate, thanking Shinji for the time they spent together. And much like episode 22, we're forced to watch this static shot of Shinji hesitating to kill the only person who showed him love. It's also very poetic that the angels started off as mindless beings searching for Lilith to end humanity, and with each passing one, they try to understand the human mind more and more until the final one accepts his death out of empathy for mankind. Yeah, so that production company probably wanted to kill Anno at this point. Anyway, the last 2 episodes fucking suck. I'm kidding! Let me explain. From the start, Eva had a very troubled production, and it started to become apparent when they ran out of money. By the time they had to make episodes 25 and 26, they had a clear idea of how they wanted the ending to play out. And their scenario had been built up throughout the entire series.
Kari, it's too early to use the lance. The committee has already started to mass produce Evas.
But unfortunately, Anno went broke, so they had to cut corners. They cut so much corners, it's a fucking circle now. It's a good thing Gainax was doing their part in preserving our planet with the amount of animation recycling going on here. The anime's ending disregards any story they were building up with Seilei and the Third Impact. When these episodes aired, people hated them. Anno got tons of hate mail, but it all worked out in the end because Eva was a massive success. So 2 years later, the crew got an actual budget and was able to redo the ending as a theatrical film, as well as the aforementioned supplementary recap film, Evangelion Death and Rebirth. Now normally in my Evangelion marathons, after Shinji obliterates that twink, I skip over the last 2 episodes and jump straight to the end of Evangelion. But not for this video. It's only fair that I watch the original finale and give it a fair shot. So, is it really as bad as people said? I mean, not really. This finale is alright, but with that said, I'm not gonna spend that much time on these episodes because, again, End of Evangelion's better. Plus, it's kinda hard to talk about this ending without End of Evangelion since they basically go through the same events. Seilei's human instrumentality project happened off-screen, so all the characters finally get to see each other's inner turmoil and solve these problems once and for all. Episode 25 addresses these issues and episode 26 solves them, one character at a time. The bottom line is, everyone does what they do because deep down, they're all lonely in some way. Through instrumentality, Shinji learns that running away can be far worse than confronting his issues head-on, and reality offers infinite possibilities. They illustrate this point by giving us the school scene.
Hurry up! Jeez, you're such a pain in the ass sometimes. Is this what happens when you start your period?
What? What did you say?
This is a lot of people's favorite part about the anime's ending, the slice of life alternate universe where Shinji lives with his parents, Asuka's his childhood friend, Misato is his teacher, and Rei is the cute new girl who's uncharacteristically Asuka-esque.
My name's Rei Ayanami. How's it hanging?
Dude, this scene is so fucking funny. We're back to episode 7 to 12 fillery bullshit. But when all is said and done, everyone comes out as better people. Especially Shinji. Shinji learns that happiness comes from within, and he realizes that life is worth living.
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Overall, a pretty alright ending. And here's where I shout out Spike Spencer's hilarious rant.
Oh, this is nice. This is the end. Okay. Where exactly am I? Here's the song. Oh, good. There's some things that are still unresolved here, guys. How do I get home? what do I eat? Was Ray my mom? Or a clone? Or hell, was this all in my mind? What's an Ava? Is that sort of a Freudian thing? Or, am I real? Oh, hell, does a bus run through here? I mean, I'd like to go home now, but, oh, God. Where's home? Okay. I mustn't run away. Okay, I got that. Good. Okay. Now, if I were to run away, let's analyze that. Where the fuck would I go? Okay, the movie better sure as hell make up for this.
Only one way to find out. The end of Evangelion serves as an alternate episodes 25 and 26, and in my personal opinion, this is the definitive ending. This movie is a genuine masterpiece. It's a masterclass in storytelling, writing, animation, music, and it's a finale with actual scale, giving payoff to everything that was set up throughout the series. It's a lot darker and angstier or angrier than the original ending, but it has the same heartwarming, life-changing advice despite it all. After all, light shines better when it's surrounded by darkness. This is one of the best movies of all time, and I've been waiting for literal years to talk about it on this channel. I did not need to rewatch this movie to know exactly what I have to say about it. I mean, I still rewatched it anyway, how could I not? Fun fact, I actually had the pleasure of watching this movie on the big screen when it was re-released a few years back. It was one of the best experiences I've had in a theater by far. So, without further ado, here's Neon Genesis Evangelion, the end of Evangelion. The fate of destruction is also the joy of rebirth. What the fuck? They're following me wherever I go!
Let's play Puyo Puyo!
Okay, first of all, I know I defended the ADV dub earlier, and I hope you all see why. It's awesome. But here the dub is handled by Manga Entertainment, featuring most of the same voice actors, and it's slightly worse for some reason. Don't get me wrong, I love the dub for this movie, but there's some small things that sort of bother me. For one, they switched the pronunciation of Ava to Eva.
And the committee won't use Nerve or Atom. They'll use the Evas.
What's going to happen to Nerve and the Evas?
They added this weird splat sound effect when this guy dies. And they switched Hyuga's voice actor. It's pretty noticeable.
So if we're all safe, then what are we doing on first level alert?
Speak of the devil.
Damn! Haven't you ever heard of moderation?
I don't know, I always liked Matt Greenfield's Hyuga voice.
Look, Shinji, if we hadn't taken over, you would have been killed!
But other than that, the dub's pretty good. Anything's better than the shitty Netflix dub. Alright, now we can start. Once the movie opens, we see Shinji has hit rock bottom. He mourns the loss of Kaoru, not able to grapple with the fact that he was forced to kill him. He stands in front of a lake. A component from a nearby power line breaks off and falls into the water, reminding us of Kaoru's fate. And right off the bat, the movie gets one of the more controversial scenes out of the way. A lot of people have heard about this scene, and a lot of people are shocked to find out that the movie actually opens with this scene. But Shinji makes it over to the hospital Asuka is in, now in a comatose state, and Shinji... There's no way to dance around this. Shinji starts jerking off. He tugs on Asuka to try and wake her up, exposing her boobs, so Shinji, in a very depressed and sexually confused state, starts to crank it. As we all know, this is probably the most infamous scene in the whole franchise, to the point where it's been ridiculed endlessly online, and they go out of their way to retcon it in the manga. It's a toss-up between this and another scene in this very movie, which isn't helping my case when I say this is one of my favorite movies ever made, but let me explain. We've witnessed Shinji as a character go through a kind of rise and fall, so again, he has now reached rock bottom. I don't need to tell you that this is just plain gross, and even Shinji himself agrees with us.
So fucked up.
The shot of Shinji's hand with glue also mirrors that one shot in the first episode when it was covered in Rei's blood. These two scenes showcase the highest point and the lowest point of Shinji's character, from becoming a pilot for Ava Unit 1 for a selfless reason to pleasuring himself to his comatose semi-lover. It's also where I get to talk about one of my favorite visual motifs in the series, hands. The series keeps showing shots of Shinji's and many other characters' hands for a reason. It's emblematic of our actions. Hands are what we as human beings use to interact and connect with each other, which works perfectly with the themes of the series. After this, Shinji continues to sulk around like usual, but at the worst possible time, because now Seele is planning to attack NERV headquarters. Seele starts by targeting the Magi, which thankfully has an easy fix, getting Ritsuko out of jail. She agrees to help, and after all she's been through, this seems a little too easy, but it's good that she's cooperating. I'm sure she has no ulterior motives whatsoever. Oh boy, it's such a pretty day outside. I sure hope the JSSDF isn't gonna come in and ruin everything. Oh no. Oh no, oh no! Seele uses every resource they have at their disposal, meaning the UN has no need for NERV and the Japanese Strategic Self-Defense Force is dispatched to ruthlessly storm into NERV HQ. These soldiers are absolutely brutal. They sever any cables they find, they start shooting missiles and dropping bombs at the base, and they gun down or set ablaze any NERV personnel they find. It's very ironic that after a whole series about killing angels, the final and most effective threat that tears them apart is humanity itself. The last angel, the spawn of Lilith. The JSSDF were tasked to take the Evangelion units by force so Seele can start the third impact, which means that the pilots are also being targeted. Asuka is suited up and stuffed in Unit 2, submerged underwater despite her medical condition. Rei's somewhere, I guess. And Shinji continues to wallow in his depression. Shinji is in danger. So with no time to lose, Misato goes after him. Random, but I also like how much spotlight is shed on the bridge team, Hyuga, Shigeru, and Maya. They're essentially background characters in the show, and here they can't do anything but sit and watch as all these insane events unfold. I truly feel bad for them, especially Maya.
I just can't shoot this thing, Aoba.
Of course you can. You've had basic training.
But I shot at targets, not at other human beings.
Idiot! You kill or you die!
Misato saves Shinji in the nick of time, so now she needs to escort him to Unit 1 so he can fend off the JSSDF and stop the Instrumentality Project. Through this sequence, the framing is on point. Shinji's face is mostly covered up, as if we're looking at him from above. It's meant to show his ever-present inferiority complex. Especially now, he feels beneath everyone, and he feels beneath us, the audience. And when Misato and Shinji stop at the parking lot, Shinji sits in the parking space number 666, showing us his less than favorable view on himself. He considers himself to be fucked up, the lowest of the low. Shinji thinks he's the devil. As for Misato, throughout the series she's been trying to connect with Shinji, to break through to him, but she always ends up failing. She may be his guardian, but she is a failed mother. In the series, she quite literally tries to reach out to him, but Shinji rejects her.
Don't touch me! Just leave me alone, Misato.
It gets to the point where Misato can't confront Shinji when Kaoru died, instead being upfront with him in a sort of cruel way, saying that Kaoru didn't have the will to survive, so he deserved to die. But despite it all, she still cares about him, so she saves his life and pushes through to make sure he does the right thing, resorting to her own way of tough love.
Stop talking like a stubborn little brat! Like it or not, you're still alive. Get moving and do something. You can die later.
But unfortunately, on their way to the launch site, Misato gets shot. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the other controversial scene in the movie. Oh no! Just shoot me in the head at this point, man. What the fuck? Listen, I am in no way condoning Misato's actions here. Obviously, it is very, very wrong for a 29-year-old woman to kiss a 14-year-old boy on the lips, and it's especially bad to follow it up with this.
That was a grown-up kiss. We'll do the rest when you get back.
I just think that it's important to remember the reasons behind this. This, I think, is the ultimate showcase for Misato's relationship with Shinji. Genuine affection and manipulation. She's tried again and again to prevent him from running away, even if she knows being an Eva pilot isn't exactly healthy for Shinji. Misato isn't above manipulation. Another example is with Hyuga, but he didn't seem to mind because he thinks she's hot, and I mean, can you really blame him? This move is also out of desperation. She's practically begging Shinji to snap out of this and go do the right thing, so she tries to relate to him one last time in the only way she knows how. Physically. Just like her father, Misato gives Shinji her cross of perseverance before sending him off with an empty promise. We'll do the rest when you get back. Misato knew her time was up.
Baji, my love, I did do the right thing, didn't I?
Stuffed in Unit 2's entry plug and submerged under the lake, Asuka regains her consciousness. This is actually one of the scenes that also shows up in the TV show ending, which also proves End of Evangelion and the TV show ending share some similar DNA. As Unit 2 is bombed by the JSSDF, Asuka starts to grapple with her mortality, repeating over and over again, "I don't want to die." A faint voice echoes in the background, a very familiar voice. The voice of Asuka's mother, Kyoko Zeppelin Soryu. Kyoko's giving some mixed signals since in episode 22 she told Asuka to die with her, but now she's doing the exact opposite, acting like a mother would act. I just chalk it up to the former being the Kyoko that exists in Asuka's mind, the insane Kyoko who hung herself. Now, it's no coincidence that the pilots submerged in LCL feel naturally at ease, and the fact that the Avas use umbilical cables, it all feels like a return to the womb. The freak accident that fractured Kyoko's soul was actually a contact experiment, and here we and Asuka finally realize that the human soul inhabiting Unit 2 is Asuka's mother. Now, this scene, this scene is fucking awesome. The movie's been pretty dour so far, but now we have some well-earned levity. Asuka finally syncs with Unit 2, and she tears the JSSDF forces limb from limb. With all that she's been through, she deserves this fuck yeah moment. The animation here is incredible. Unit 2 moves with such weight and fluidity, making every attack she dishes out feel impactful. This girl is tanking firepower and missiles like it's nothing. Asuka is unstoppable. Not even the Ava's shitty battery life can stop her. And of course, the music here is fucking amazing, but I don't need to tell you that. Shiro Sagisu never misses. All in all, it's safe to say that Asuka is back. But not for long! Seele dispatches their secret ultimate weapon to finish Asuka off, the mass production Evangelions. Now these things are incredibly chilling. They have a ghostly white color scheme, a massive smile on their face as if they enjoy the bloodshed they're about to partake in. They fly in the air circling their prey like a pack of vultures, and they're equipped with the S2 engine and the dummy plug system. Asuka goes, nah, I'd win, and tries to take all 9 of them on with her ever-depleting battery, and for a minute it seems like she might actually pull it off. Until she doesn't. Seele decided to pull a funny prank on Asuka by making a copy of the Lance of Longinus, which promptly pierces Asuka in the eye. And if that wasn't bad enough, Asuka's fight was all for nothing because the mass-produced Avas all come back to life and tear Unit 2 apart. Again, like a pack of vultures. You really had me going there, movie. I thought we could have nice things, but instead we need to mutilate and brutally murder a child. This is all your fault, Shinji. Shinji makes it to the launch chamber, and much like Asuka, Shinji realizes that his mother, Yui Akari, was inside Unit 1 all along. But Shinji was too late. Oh, okay, that was a short movie. Okay, jokes aside, the credits are placed in the middle of the movie, which would normally be an odd choice, but it works here. After all, the first half of the movie was an alternate episode 25, and the episode's over now. Plus, this music is pretty soothing, which I feel is integral to the experience. This is a much-needed, calming intermission before the insanity of the second half. Okay, back to the movie. As Shinji starts having a mental breakdown, again. The true Lance of Longinus returns to Earth in time for Seele's sick ritual. The mass production Evas crucify Unit 1, dragging it higher and higher into the air. The committee watches in anticipation, with their leader, Chairman Keel, revealing his human form in excitement. Shinji can't do anything but scream in fear and confusion, and the bridge crew still watches in shock.
Tell me, have we done the right thing?
How the hell should I know?
The mass production Evas come together and form an upside-down Jewish tree of life, signifying an anti-AT field. See, AT fields aren't just an energy shield possessed by angels and Evas, humans have them too. AT fields ensure humanity as a species maintains its individuality. Kaoru refers to it as the light of his soul. Now, the third impact threatens our individuality, creating an ominous power to change the course of humankind as we know it. The Black Moon of Lilith is forcibly taken from the Geofront, ready for humanity's return. And now, we wait for Lilith. Deep in Terminal Dogma, Gendo takes Rei over to the corpse of Lilith, ready to take control of the third impact to reunite with Yui. Ritsuko tries to stop them. She reprogrammed her gun to work with the Magi when Seele was hacking them earlier, so she tells her mom to finish the job, but it seems Naoko was a filthy whore to the end.
Caspar betrayed me.
Gendo's last line to Ritsuko is up to interpretation, but the general consensus seems to be that he told her, "I need you," or he apologized for using her now that he's so close to his goal. Regardless, she calls him a liar, so she bites the dust. I was holding off on talking about Rei in this movie until now, so here we go. In episode 23, Rei 2 died and was replaced by Rei 3. Despite this, she still seems to retain some of her memories.
I think I must be the third one. I'm seeing this for the first time, and yet this is not the first time. Why am I crying?
At the beginning, Rei broke Gendo's old glasses, symbolizing her broken trust in the commander. Rei has the soul of Lilith, and Gendo only created her so he could take control of instrumentality, which contrasts with Rei's character arc of becoming more human. She was created with one purpose in mind. Gendo may treat her kindly, but he sees her as nothing more than an object, a doll. In a sickening display, Rei releases her AT field and starts to decompose, and Gendo sticks his Adam embryo hand inside Rei's body, initiating the forbidden union of Adam and Lilith. From a glance, it looks like Gendo is sexually assaulting her, which adds to the dehumanizing view he has on Rei. We all have our own interpretations or theories about this, and personally, I think there's tons of reasons to hate Gendo, but being a pedophile isn't one of them. He's too focused on meeting his wife again. I'm only throwing this in since I see a good handful of people read this scene that way, and I don't really think that's the case. Regardless, Rei hears Shinji's cries of anguish, and she finally revolts.
Not be a puppet for you to control.
Rei chops off Gendo's hand, regenerates her own, and she merges with the immobilized angel before them, releasing it from its crucifix and giving birth to one of the series' most iconic pieces of imagery, the giant naked Rei, the fusion between Rei, Adam, and Lilith. Growing to a horrifyingly large size, Rei gives control of the third impact to Unit 1 and Shinji. And if you take into account Shinji's rapidly declining sanity, yeah, humanity is fucking doomed. Thanks to the Adam embryo, Lilith briefly takes the form of Kaoru, luring Shinji into a sense of comfort. Before instrumentality properly starts, Shinji is transported to a world of his dreams, where he is once again confronted by his feelings. The first vision we see is pretty simple. Shinji, as a little baby,
you are the youngest person ever,
is playing in a sandbox. He's making a little sandcastle with his friends. Isn't that sweet? A detail I really like about this scene is the cameras and the added film grain effect, giving it a sense of artificiality, or it's a reference to the fact that Nerve is always watching, even when Shinji ran away those 2 times.
I'm sure you know there will be a lot of restrictions placed upon your activities from now on.
The main idea of the scene is stuff we've already discussed before, so I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's all about Shinji's never-ending never-ending search for validation and his loneliness. The fact that it's done in this child in sandbox framing just puts into perspective how long Shinji has been like this, and the two dolls with him are meant to represent Asuka and Rei. They represent the thing Shinji's been craving since day one, friendship. But then, the mother arrives in the form of Misato, the failed mother. The mother who could never connect with Shinji. So now, Shinji is alone with the sand pyramid, resembling Nerve's pyramid base. This is Shinji's life. No friendship, no affection, just get in the damn robot. Nothing will change unless he destroys it all. This is where Shinji starts to get berated by his perception of Asuka, so their complicated relationship and their similarities once again take the spotlight. Tons of trippy and jarring imagery here all relate to Shinji's need for upfront, genuine affection and sexual frustration. And it's not just this scene. This movie is absolutely loaded with sexual undertones, and believe me, it gets much more obvious later. This scene is overwhelming, not just to the audience, but to Shinji. Once again, we're in the train, Shinji's place of solace, and he's confronted by Asuka, Rei, and Misato. Shinji doesn't know what to believe anymore. He doesn't know if he needs these people or if he's afraid of them. His image of Misato, a mother figure who could do no wrong, as shown in the sandbox scene, is tainted once he witnesses Misato and Kaji having sex, showing just what Misato will do to not feel lonely. Shinji is still a kid who doesn't quite understand this stuff, so seeing Misato do it leaves him confused and pretty irritated. This is another scene that was present in the TV show ending, and there Misato was part of instrumentality. But that wouldn't make sense here because she fucking exploded. So this is merely a dreamlike vision, persuading him to trigger the third impact. And the last dream we see is Shinji and his view of Asuka back in the apartment.
So now you come running to me!
No, I need you to help me!
That's the easiest way to keep from getting hurt! You never even loved yourself! You're all you have, and you never even learned to like yourself!
Shinji legitimately loses it, approaching Asuka like some sort of zombie before screaming, begging for help. When he gets rejected once more, Shinji reaches a decision. If no one understands him, they can all just die. After a whole series worth of buildup, the third impact is finally here. Everything goes to shit, everything fucking sucks, everyone dies, and I love everything about this sequence. Shinji is asked a series of questions. What is your hand for? What is your heart for? No matter what, Shinji is dead set on his decision. No one cares about me, so they can all just die. Lilith grows big enough to be visible from space, and her anti-AT field continues to spread, turning everyone across the entire planet into LCL, the primordial fluid. When a human being evolves into this new state, hell, when characters died previously, we see a ghostly apparition of Rei. I'll elaborate on this later, but right now, during the third impact, the Rei ghosts seem to shapeshift to fit a person's inner desires to become their transitional guide, which is demonstrated through the bridge team. After a whole movie of them freaking the fuck out, they welcome their deaths with ease. It's very chilling. Hyuga has been shown to help Misato out on her investigation against Nerve, and we see now that he always kinda had a crush on her, getting what he wanted all along before joining instrumentality. Fuyutsuki was shown to be disappointed when Gendo married Yui, and we see now that Fuyutsuki always liked her, seeing his crush before joining instrumentality. Maya is always seen working alongside Ritsuko, and now Maya finally gets embraced by her senpai before joining instrumentality. Shigeru pretty much never loved anyone, so he kinda just dies alone. This scene is awesome because even if these guys are essentially background characters, they are still people. People with their own feelings, their own desires, and their flaws. And when all is said and done, Gendo did get to see Yui again, but not in the way he expected. Yui, alongside Kaoru and Rei, representing Adam and Lilith, comment on Gendo's neglect for his own son, and Gendo himself admits he did care for Shinji, but he abandoned him because he felt like he couldn't be a good father without Yui there to guide him. Obviously, this makes Gendo a massive hypocrite, so he's not allowed to join Instrumentality. He just dies a well-earned, terrifying death.
Forgive me,
Even Seele, the doomsday cult that orchestrated this entire thing, joined Instrumentality. Across the world, everyone joins together and becomes one body, one mind, one soul. The entire population is joined together as one, retreating back to the birthplace of humanity, the Black Moon of Lilith. While this happens, crosses appear across the globe as the oceans are painted red, while Lilith towers above everything. Of course, the element that really makes this sequence come together is the music. Come Susser Todd is the third most iconic song in the entire series. The lyrics are dour and hopeless, but the instrumental is oddly upbeat, and this contrast absolutely works with the premise of Instrumentality. It's horrifyingly bliss. That's another thing I like about this movie. At this point, I'm kind of desensitized by it after watching it like 7 times, but yeah, this movie is fucking scary. They're pulling all the heavy hitters: body horror, cosmic horror, religious horror, liminal horror, the works. And again, this movie is very sexual, so you have things like Lilith's forehead pussy and the mass production Avas, now with Rei's face, moaning with pleasure after they penetrate themselves. The closest we as a species can possibly get to becoming one with each other is sex, so it makes sense that Instrumentality has sexual undertones. Seele created sex too. As for Shinji, through the Human Instrumentality Project, he once again ignores his problems and enters a world of ecstasy. In other words, Shinji, once again, ran away. I sure hope Pen Pen is okay. Wait, I thought this movie was animated! Oh god, the movie's real now. Okay, I guess I gotta do something for the occasion. Well, it was bound to happen eventually. Check it out.
My name's Rei.
Look what I got. I already showed. Fuck, I already showed this. Fuck this. I'm gonna go. Much like the TV show ending, Shinji is shown an alternate reality, but instead of the goofy school scene, this is presented in live action. It all goes to show that reality is what you make of it, and it offers infinite possibilities. In a way, this live action world represents a fake imaginary world Shinji retreated to, as opposed to his animated world. Possibly a form of commentary from Anno, since the inverse is true for a lot of people in our world. We even see a theater screening of Evangelion Death and Rebirth, packed with fans. The film is aware of us, the audience, and now we are part of the experience, and whatever lesson is told at the end isn't just for Shinji, but for us as well.
So you only find happiness in your dreams.
Then this is not reality? This world where no one exists?
No, it is only a dream.
Then I don't exist here either.
This convenient fabrication is your attempt to change reality.
Is that wrong?
You were using fantasy to escape reality.
The scene is also a nice instance of levity after the absolute mindfuck we were subjugated to. The calm piano music, the beautiful, peaceful shots of the scenery, I love it all. And while this isn't used in the movie, so it doesn't really matter, there exists an 11-minute long deleted scene, which is an alternate live-action sequence. We see Misato and Asuka, played by their Japanese VAs, living 10 years in the future, in a world without Evangelions, angels, without nerds, Seele, even Shinji. The scene ends with Shinji realizing this is a false reality where he doesn't exist, and Yeah, it's still pretty relaxing and it's a nice take on the live action bit. It's maybe a little too long, which is probably why it went unused. Also, Asuka's in a sexual relationship with Toji here, and I'm not really sure how to feel about that. Also, in the scene that's in the actual movie, this random dude flips off the camera. Like, wow, okay, that's rude. However, if you ask me, this scene pales in comparison to the next one. I've talked about my favorite moments from the anime, but what happens next is hands down my favorite sequence in the entire series. It is absolutely beautiful. Back to the realm of animation, Shinji finds himself with Rei in the Sea of LCL. Human instrumentality has been achieved, creating an ambiguous world where individuality and pain do not exist. Everyone has joined together as a unified consciousness within the Black Moon, but somehow, Misato's cross persists, reminding Shinji of the moments he felt happy. He realizes this reality is wrong. As he starts to doubt this form, Rei is seen to be fused with his body in this intentionally sexual manner, but it's transformed into a sign of friendship when Shinji holds her hand. Shinji decides that maybe it's okay for humanity to maintain their individual forms, and while he does so, he's greeted with Kaoru. This vision of Rei and Kaoru represents the hope that humanity will one day understand each other and the words, "I love you." Even if the possibility of pain exists in our world, it's still a beautiful world that's worth living in.
Still, I want to see them again, because at the time, I know my feelings were real.
Shinji rejects instrumentality, causing Lilith to decompose, falling apart onto the planet. Unit 1 is freed from the confines of the Lance of Longinus and Lilith, breaking through Lilith's eye, and humanity is freed from the Black Moon, spreading across the globe. They remain in their liquid forms, but now they have the option to return to reality if they choose. And as all this happens, Shinji is granted parting words from his mother, who is low-key kind of evil. Yeah, so Yui's father was a part of Seilei, so her death was very much intentional, as foretold in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Her true goal was to fuse with Eva Unit 1 and remain inside for the rest of eternity, so when the third impact is over, Yui drifts off into space as eternal proof of mankind's existence.
Humans can only exist on this earth, but the Evangelion will be able to exist forever, along with the human soul that dwells within it.
But regardless of motivation, Yui's parting words are incredibly powerful.
Anywhere can be paradise, as long as you have the will to live. After all, you are alive, so you will always have the chance to be happy. As long as the sun, the moon, and the earth exist, everything will be alright.
A complaint I see about Evangelion thrown around here and there is that there's only one theme it really has, and the lore can be pretty confusing for a first-time viewer. But that's kind of the point, I think. Life is confusing, it's random, it's scary, but it's also beautiful. When all is said and done, anywhere can be paradise, as long as you have the will to live. Now, we only have one scene left. One quiet, ambiguous scene, left entirely up to interpretation. One more final, I need you. The world is entirely left in shambles. The oceans are blood red, the mass production Avas stand petrified in the scene, and Lilith's decomposing head rests in the horizon. That's a money shot right there. On the beach, Shinji and a regenerated Asuka lay side by side, completely drained from the insanity that befell them. They lay side by side, so close, yet so far away from each other. Suddenly, Shinji sees something very familiar, a ghostly apparition of Rei Ayanami. I mentioned the Rei apparitions before, and this one is meant to bookend the story. We saw this mysterious girl in the distance when Shinji arrived in Tokyo 3, and we see her again in the distance at the end of the world. But as for a more canon explanation, I think after Rei achieved godhood from her fusion with Lilith, she became omnipresent. It's why she observes the deaths of countless lives, why she serves as their transitional guide. The ghost of Rei is, in a way, a time traveler, bringing up the possible and highly debated looping timeline theory. And then, in a sort of baffling move, Shinji chokes Asuka. To me, I see this as the two of them finally, after all this time, coming to an understanding and giving each other what they want. Shinji chokes Asuka because she wanted him to stop his inaction. Asuka, in response, gently caresses him, giving Shinji the attention he always wanted, and it frankly breaks him.
How disgusting.
Well, now we know Asuka's seen Shinji's unethical gooning. Movie's over, by the way. Yep. The end. Absolutely perfect. I guess now all I have to talk about is, where do we go from here? What do I think will happen to them? Well, it's up in the air who will choose to come back from instrumentality. If the answer is not a lot of people, then I suppose Shinji and Asuka take a sort of Adam and Eve role, repopulating the planet. I do believe that Shinji took his mother's last words to heart and is taking this opportunity to finally grow as a person, and I like to think that he and Asuka eventually made it work. Something that gives me hope is this official drawing right here. I just hope Pen Pen is okay! And before any of you ask, I know some of you are probably curious about my opinions on the Rebuild movies. Ah, the Rebuild movies. What an odd way to reboot a franchise. I honestly think those could make for a more interesting video since I like them less than the original continuity. I don't hate them, they're just kind of weird. Regardless, that's a story for another day. Can you tell I only put this part in the video so it can be 2 hours long? Yep. I want this to be 2 hours long. We're gonna be here for a while. I'm gonna cut this part short once it reaches the 2 hour mark. Oh boy. Yup. am so fucking tired. I have wanted to do this video for literal years. After all this time, I finally got to talk about my thoughts, my interpretations, and overall just my opinion on my favorite anime series. For a while I was kind of avoiding making this since I didn't think I had the chops to handle such a topic, but I only got better at this whole YouTube thing with time, and believe me when I say I have all my fans and supporters to thank for it. I guess I was just tired of running away from it. If you made it this far, thank you all so much for watching. If you want me to talk more about anime, I'd love to hear it. I got a few good ideas for what else to talk about, and I could also do with some recommendations. That would be cool, I think. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on my socials to keep up with my other stuff, and you can also support me on Patreon for cool perks like art pulls, seeing your name on the end screen, and watching videos early. Shoutouts to Brandon Smith, Chirawashi, Roxy, Sky HDD, Kritten10, J Ratty, and my goat Tam for being $10 supporters. Your continued support means the world to me. Thank you all so much. And most importantly, go out and enjoy life, my friends. It's a beautiful world out there.
Congratulations!
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 Holy fuck, what are you doing here, Ray?